Hello folks, Major Gosnell here, and today we'll be talking about the patch update for Naval Action. So, a couple of days ago, the patch launched for Naval Action, and all of the captains have been grinding away trying to get back into their big ships. Now, we all were waiting for this patch for a couple of months, and dreading it as well, complete wipe except for XP, and now it's launched. I've played a little bit since then, not a whole lot, and I just wanted to give you my thoughts on what I see from my perspective as a player. This discussion, this rant is going to be solely based on my own experience playing. I don't really partake in port battles that often, and I'm not really familiar with diplomatic side of things and hostility grinding, etc. I'm looking at this from the perspective of a player who likes to play alone, who likes to fight and have a good bit of combat. Player who doesn't sail that well, but a player who does actually want this game to succeed. So the patch is launched, and a lot of stuff we knew in advance that ships would be 1 Jura now, which is something that I want to say straight off the bat I actually agree with. Ships should be 1 Jura, it should have been that way from day one, because I think it sort of generates a healthier economy. The game itself, the combat, the sounds, they're all perfect, they're well done. Now on to the things that have irked me as I've found them out over the last couple of days. So with patch launching, all of our belongings, except for XP and Craft XP, were completely wiped. So this meant that people who had spent months generating vast reserves of resources, vast amounts of gold, liquidity in particular stands out at, I think it was 750 million the guy had accumulated over the course of the game, since it launched last year. Now, we all knew the wipe was going to come, and I accept that for the economy they needed to reset everything. It was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but, you know, fair enough. We knew it was going to happen. It's an early access title. We can understand that. So this brings me on to my first bugbear with the relaunch of the game. So we understand you have to do the wipe, but they promised redeemable ships. Now, the ships that they've given new players, or players who've had all this stuff wiped, sorry, let me rephrase that, is a basic cutter, which you can get for free anyway if you lose it, a trader's brig, a surprise, and an indefatigable. Now, 3 of these ships were very, very easy to come by pre-patch. Most people didn't even use the trader's brig. Oh, and they also gave us a pickle, which I've actually sold. Now, the pickle is like a heavier version of the basic cutter. And as a lineup of ships to give existing players, to ease them back in post-patch, it's pretty slim pickings, to be fair. Well, and also, this leads on to my second bugbear, which is the cannons. So, basically, we now have to outfit all of our ships, and that means outfitting them with cannons, which have to be bought individually, which costs quite a lot of money if we take a look here. These are the cannon costs. These would be kind of the starting cannons at 6-pounders, 2,496. Now, bear in mind, for new players coming in, and for existing players straight after the patch, each mission at midshipman level that was grinded would only have generated 6,000 gold, 7,000 max. So, you're talking 3 cannons at a time. Now, if we look here, on the surprise, there would be roughly about, I believe, 30 cannons on board her, of higher caliber classes as well. So you're talking a lot of money. I think the 9-pounder is the standard lower deck gun, this one here, for the surprise. So you're talking, I think it's 12 on the lower deck, or it might be 24. It's still a lot of gold. So, for new players coming into the game, they're going to have to grind their asses off, along with grinding XP so they can sail the bigger ships. They've got to grind a shit ton of gold to actually be able to outfit them. Which, I know myself, if I was a new player coming in, I do not want to be grinding my ass off in a basic cutter for 4 or 5 weeks at a time just so I can get enough money together to keep a surprise maintained. Let's not even get on to the indefatigable. So, there's that. My second bugbear is, as I've said before, the cannons. Now, the developers have decided to make the cannons, as opposed to buying them in sets, so say your ship mounted 12 6-pounders on the lower deck, you could buy, for the same price I might add, cannons, load them onto your ship, you have the 12. Now you have to buy the individual cannons, which, as I've said, increases the cost on the player. But they've also made the rather unique decision to not have the cannons placeable individually. So you have to actually fully equip your ship with the cannon set, or you can't use less than the full amount. So you can't under-equip your ship. I tried the other day to load half the complement of cannons that I needed to fill my lower deck of my surprise, and I couldn't. And this came as a shock to me. Why on earth make individual cannons when you can't place them individually on your ship? This makes zero sense whatsoever on any level, aside from making the grind a lot longer for players. I'm struggling to see the benefits here. And in combat, you're going to lose cannons. I don't know if you automatically get them back. I'm not sure on that. But even if that's the case, God help players who get raked. That's going to be a fucking nightmare. And there you have it. The cannon situation is laughable. Now, crafting is a part. You can craft your own cannons. It's considerably cheaper to craft your own cannons, but to buy a workshop costs a lot of gold as well. Oh, and I accidentally clicked on this, which we're about to get on in a minute. So, that's the cannon situation, which is it's ludicrous, it's stupid. Everybody is irked by it. Most players I know myself they're not very happy about the situation that they have to grind so much just to equip their goddamn ships. You then have crew costs on top of that. They've lowered the crew costs considerably, but still, for lone wolf players, the grind is fucking awful now. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is what they've done with the servers. So, we now have two server types. We have PvP EU and PvP Global. There's also a PvE server, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Now, we're not even going to get into the PvE side. I never play in it, so I'm not going to talk about it. So, PvP EU and PvP Global. Now, for a community that pre-patch was dropping below the 300 mark most days, and late evenings, not even 100 players online, to split your community into two servers, not the smartest move in the world. It really isn't. Most of the guys I used to play with are now on PvP Global. These would be the Australians, because I finish work late, I'm on the same time as they would be on. The bulk of the English community, the people who'd be on daytimes, which funnily enough is also the time that I'm online, because I work late evenings, I'm home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, so that's kind of like a good time for the Australians as well. Then you have early, like from 12 o'clock in the afternoon GMT, I play as well, which means I want to play with Europeans. Now, I know I can't have it always, but it's something that's bugging me a little, because guys I know are on both servers, and I want to play with my friends at the end of the day. But to split the community like that, and a lot of the veteran players, and good sailors as well, and decent players, are now split down the middle on servers. So ultimately, unless the devs actually get off their asses and hold a sail once in a while, player numbers are going to be fucking ludicrously low on both servers. It's something I don't get it. I don't get why they had to do that. They could have improved server stability. They could have done any number of things other than splitting the community straight down the middle like that. It's... I don't get it. I really don't. So you have that situation. Now we're going to get on to the PvE and PvP marks. So when you're having battles in the game, you earn marks. When you're fighting NPCs, you earn PvP marks. When you're fighting players, you earn PvP marks. And the marks are so you can buy effectively blueprints to produce ships, or permits as they're now called, or aesthetic stuff like the bow figures, and then upgrades like hammocks, grenades, carpenters, etc. Now, that's all well and good if you could buy everything with PvE and PvP marks. Have PvE sort of like as a secondary currency, so that it costs a hell of a lot more PvE than it does PvP. I could live with that. But no. The developers decided that it was a really, really smart idea to make it so that you needed PvP marks for warships. Or conquest marks, which is effectively PvP for warships. Or for any sort of aesthetic looking things for your ship, as you can see here. Conquest marks, PvP marks, PvE marks for the Lagros. So trade ships you can get with PvE. Any sort of decent warship, you need PvP marks. This is, I want to say retardation, but I don't want to be rude. It's stupidity of the highest fucking order. You're once again splitting your community between players who maybe don't want to get into PvP fights because they don't have time to be grinding for new ships. As somebody who works 44 hours a week, I sure as shit don't have time to grind a ship every time I lose one. You're making the game very elitist, and yeah, it's splitting the community again. You're going to have the guys who are fucking pro PvPers, the ones with the best ships, as always. And the other guys are just going to be fucked up the ass, and that's the best way of putting it. So, yeah. Once again, another way to split your community straight down the middle. You could have introduced, as I said, the secondary currency system. PvE marks are worth less than PvP, and the items you need more of them to actually buy a ship. There's also the fact that, has it occurred to them that players might have alt characters or multiple accounts, and they might be in a clan, so they say half the clan will hop onto their other accounts on the other nation and duel it out with them, lose basic ships so they generate PvP marks, so on and so forth. So basically, using alts to generate PvP marks is another issue there. Or did this not even occur to the developers? Come on, use your goddamn heads. It's going to be abused to high heaven. And we know the sort of players that are going to abuse that to high heaven. So that's the PvP marks thing. Now, my last bugbear with the game. So, 17th century sailing, 18th century, 16th century, whatever you want to call it, the age of sail. You have, in history, people capturing ships for prize money, so on and so forth. The developers decided that you can no longer cap NPC ships. Bravo. Once again, pissing off your less combat-inclined players. So, you want us to grind our asses off for gold, but you're not giving us the opportunity to capture trade ships. You can only capture the cargo off them now. I understand you don't want the clans to have vast quantities of ships at their disposal. What you could do is make warships above class 5 uncappable. Or alternatively, have a system in place where the AI defenses during port battles could be generated from captured warships. So players automatically send them to Admiralty, the player gets a payout, and those ships are then generated in port battles as defensive ships as well. Or anti-screening ships. I don't know how it would exactly work AI-wise, but it's an idea. So that players can still cap them, still make money off them, or break them up for resources, that might be another option, but they don't get to keep them. Instead, you've made it so that players can't even cap a ship, including trade ships, which is a crock of shit. Why the hell can you not cap a trade ship? You can only sink them now if they're NPC. That is the most stupidest, lame-brain design decision of this entire patch. Once again, you're fucking over your PvE players who enjoy PvP aspect but aren't professional enough to actually make a career, when I say career, make a successful character out of it. So that's my views on the patch. I think within maybe a month or two, the player number is going to drop down again to maybe 400 or 500. Devs, just wake up, for fuck's sake. You need to do a sale once in a while. You need to generate a new player base. Your Steam rating has gone to shit lately. You need to step up the game. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I can really say on the matter. I know a lot of you will probably disagree with me. I hope some of you will agree with me. And hopefully the devs might actually listen and say, listen, this isn't a smart move, that's not a smart move. Let's try to improve that, let's try to improve this. It's early access, there's still time to change, and I really want this game to succeed. It's the only game of its type out there at the moment that has that sort of seriousness about it. Blackway is an arcadey sort of kind of game. This is the only game that's hitting a certain niche for me, and I want it to succeed so badly, but the way it's going at the moment, I don't want to play it. I don't want to grind it. I don't want to spend my free time entirely devoted to this game just so I can earn enough money to sail a ship. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.